Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Oh, welcome to my channel. So we are going to start work on the All Hallows Eve Candy Factory. And I'm taking 3 wood boxes I got at the dollar store or Dollar Tree. And I got my dad to help me in removing the bottom pieces off of 2 of the boxes. And he put this hole in what's going to be our middle floor because we're going to stack them like this. And it's mostly because I didn't want a double layer between the floors. I don't want that added height. And I'm going to be using lights, and I want the lights to be able to shine through these holes here. So I wanted less layers between. So he did that, and then I drilled a hole in here for another part of the piece, and they're going to end up getting glued like this. And what we're going to have is cauldrons that are making the candies, and then they're going to come out of chutes and vials, and some of them are going to come over here and get put into bags, and some are going to go further down to a conveyor belt that's going to add color and glitter to them. And so yeah, this is going to be our All Hallows Eve Candy Factory. And what I want to do first is just do a coat of some black paint on these just to cover up, so that if the papers I put in don't cover everything, so I'm going to mostly focus on like the corners and the edges and stuff so that we don't have the box showing. And just so you know, these boxes are 4x4 squares. So I am going to just take out some black paint and give these guys a coating of black paint almost everywhere. Like I don't need it in like the very middle. I know that's going to be covered, but along our edges to make sure that when we start adding papers, the papers will, we won't have to worry about the box showing through. Okay, so our top level of our candy factory, we're gonna have vials pouring microbead sugar into cauldrons to make our candies. And I've gotten a start on it. As you can see, putting them in the vials. Now to do this, what I'm doing is taking my microbeads, which I've colored with alcohol inks, and these I did, some of these I did in that video where I was prepping stuff for the Halloween makes, and then I realized I needed yellow because one section of it is going to be making candy corn, so I needed yellow, white, and orange, and I already had orange, and white is just plain microbeads. So I went ahead and alcohol inked some yellow microbeads, and basically how I'm doing this is in layers, because if you put down like a huge glob of glossy accents that fills up the thing, your vial, it's never going to dry. So what you need to do is pour a small amount in. So I'm just going to hold my bottle, give it a good squeeze, and kind of get a coating on the bottom. So that's what that looks like. So that, oops, holding it upright, it kind of, on its side, kind of went up the side of the bottle, which is fine because we're gonna keep filling it. And you can just come in with a toothpick if you need to shift it around. So the bottom's filled with glossy accents, and I picked that because that's going to dry clear and glossy, so it's going to keep the glossy look of our micro beads. And then I'm going to take a funnel, pour a bunch of micro beads in. Make sure they cover my glossy accents. I think I may need some more micro beads on this one. And then what I do is I just dump the excess back out. And then I leave this for a good long while to sit and dry. So like this one's gotten several layers on it and has another layer drying. The same with this one. Because if you put it all in at once, it's not gonna dry in the middle because it won't have access to air to dry it. So I'm just gonna keep on slowly layering this up, and I usually leave it sit for several hours until it's completely clear, because you can see it's kind of, you know, the wet Glossy Accents cloudy, the dry is clear. So I'm gonna leave this until it dries clear and then put another layer on. And eventually when we build up enough layers, I'm gonna show you how we're gonna have the microbeads pouring from this into our cauldrons. Okay, so it's been several days of filling layer by layer, and now we're ready for the next step, which involves putting a piece of fishing line. And I am using monofilament fishing line, 8 pounds. And I think I just picked it up at like Walmart. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna add more of the Glossy Accents again. And there were definitely a couple layers that I rushed on and it didn't dry as well before I put the next layer on. So there's a little cloudiness, but that's all right. Then we're gonna add more of the beads. And I know I've got way more beads than I need in there, but because I don't want to dump out my fishing line, I'm just gonna leave them and let that dry. And so what we're gonna do, here's one that I've already done and it's already dried, is we're gonna put the beads on the fishing line. So let's see, there you can kind of see the fishing line. And so what I'm just gonna do is add some Glossy Accent to the fishing line. And dunk it in the beads. Ooh, that did not go well. And now I've got beads covered with Glossy Accent in there. All right, this may not work. I've not tried this with micro beads before. I've done it with what have I done it with? Just texture paste. And let's see, what I may need to do is, I know what I need, a piece of wax paper, because it won't stick to the wax paper. So I can go like so, and just pour the micro beads like that. Now we're gonna sit and let that dry and come back and like get rid of all of the excess. Okay, so I've gone ahead and glued the three pieces together. There was a bit of a gap from cutting off the bottom of this box, so I just kind of filled it with the E6000 in black. And when I glued this one to this one, I used some strips of just scrap paper along here and the sides to kind of fill in the gap, and then added the E6000 to cover up the white. So I still have to cover the sides and top and bottom, but there's our candy factory. Now, on the top level, the plan is to have 2 cauldrons with our candy concoction dripping into the cauldrons. So I already made one cauldron to kind of test out how I was going to do it. And what I'm using is, this is a coordinating die by Lawn Fawn, and it's for their Purr-fectly Wicked stamp set, and it obviously cuts out a cauldron. For the front, I glued 4 of them together. For the back, I glued 2 together, and then I used some strips of the same black cardstock, and I feel like this is I think this is like 100 pounds, so it's a heavier cardstock. And then I put some black opaque texture paste on it. Now my black opaque texture paste is dying/dead, so it's almost clay-like, so I kind of had to like mold it on and just leave it to dry. So I'm going to show you how I did this guy to create the second one. And I started by just gluing this on along the edge there. And then let's see, because I want it to be about the same size. So I'm just going to kind of curve it in around my finger. And then I'll just glue the back piece on, kind of making sure I line up the two cauldrons like that. So I'm gonna just kind of hold that in place, lift it up, and stick a little glue on there. And just hold that down for a sec. And then we'll bring our piece back over and make sure it's gonna fit size-wise. And that cauldron there, and this cauldron here. And yep, I like that. Then I'm just gonna take scissors and trim the excess off. And then I'm gonna see if that piece is long enough, and it is not, so let me grab. And I'm just gonna be lazy and not bother pulling out my paper trimmer and just grab my big scissors. Again, I'm just gonna kind of get a curve going to the paper. Glue it on the front. I feel like that's going out too far, that we're going to have trouble with our cauldron fitting in. Let's And again, just gonna hold it in place, lift the flap up, and apply glue. Give that a minute set, and then we'll trim off the excess. Just make sure that is gonna work. That'll work. Okay, great. So the next step is I'm gonna take my black opaque, and I've ordered a new jar because it's not really all that spreadable at this point. Maybe some down at the bottom I could spread through like a stencil, but the stuff on top, yeah, it should not be this firm. But I can kind of just use my fingers and use it kind of like clay, and it will stick to the paper. I don't need to go all the way around because you're not going to see the back, so I'm just going to kind of go to the sides a bit. like I did on this one. Let's just check and see how these work in our piece and make sure I don't need to do any more paste on there. Because yeah, that's making it a little bit wider. That's as wide as it needs to go and as much paste as I need to put on the sides. Now, I notice we've got a little bit of cracking. I'm gonna let it dry and then add a little bit more where the cracking is. And there's one more thing I wanna do with this one involving the paste. And that is, where did it go? So this is a piece of acetate-ish, that I cut out from these tins. And of course I saved them because I'm like, I could probably use that for something. So what I want to do is attach it in our cauldron, and I'm going to use a little bit of the paste to cover up the front of it, because I realized, I'm like, this is an awful lot of just black sitting in the piece. So I want to have some bubbles coming out of it and maybe coming down the side to add a little bit more color to the piece. So what I want to do is trim this down. So that it'll kind of fit inside the cauldron. It doesn't need to be perfect. I just need a place for the bubbles to sit on. And because I'm going to put lights inside it, I needed something clear for them to sit on. That will work. Let's do that. That. It's not sticking out there. All right. I'm going to take a piece of, no, first I want to grab a hole punch. I'm gonna punch a hole kind of in the center because I want our why is that not wanting to work? I want our strands to have somewhere to like go in. So I'm gonna now grab a piece of tape for the back. So and then I'm gonna stick a couple pieces maybe on the inside just to kind of hold it in place. Yes, this is very fiddly. Yes, you can totally skip this step. And now I'm gonna just take some of the texture paste and cover up our like edge there. like I want to put just a little on the side bit there because the shine of the is overhanging just a little. I also think I may need to go wash my hands, that they've gotten too warm and so it's sticking to me. All right, I'm gonna take care of that, wash my hands, take care of that, set this aside to dry, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I want to get these guys in place, and I did one more thing to them. Also, I just realized this one, I ended up putting the thing upside down, like that's the bottom. So let's just trim off those excess pieces sticking up in the back that we don't need, because yeah, upside down. And I did go in with some enamel accents and add some drips, which on this one I think I'm going to come in with a paintbrush and do some orange and some yellow, because it's going over here where we're making our candy corn, and just add a little color. And leave some of it white. I'm just gonna go back in with some black paint and clean up the mess I'm making. This one, we're just gonna add a little black paint because it's black and white candies. Of course, that's really not working because then it's just blending in with the background. Yeah, okay, so we're just gonna have light white coming over it, and hopefully it's not dry yet and I can get it off. I can. All right, so that's gonna go there. Gonna come in with a smaller brush and clean up on this guy real quick. All right, so what we're gonna start by doing is string our thing of lights through the hole I made. All right. There's our lights through. This guy's going here. So what I need to do is put a hole in here. That should be big enough for the lights to go through. Yes. All right. So now comes the fiddly part, because I want to do a whole bunch of lights around the hole down here. And the downside of having put in that little bit of plastic means I can't go through the top to do this. So I've kind of got to wing it. Okay, we're gonna go around one more time, and then I'm gonna see how we're doing. All right, let's turn the lights on and see how that looks. Oh, I think that's gonna be good, because coming out of the bottom, we're gonna have our candy corn beaker, and so it's gonna provide a little bit of glow. I may wanna shift one of the lights so that they're actually over the opening. It's like there, so we get more light through. Okay, I think I am ready to glue this into place. So I'm gonna grab the black E6000 again, put a little dot on the back here. Did I even get anything out? No. All right. Well, that oozed up where I didn't necessarily want it oozing up. Yeah, this is gonna be hard to show on camera, getting this glued down. And I'm gonna put a little on the bottom of the cauldron. Okay, that oozed everywhere. It's the one problem with the E6000 glue, is it's very messy. I just need to hold it there now. All right, I am gonna turn off these lights because they're blinding me. Sit here and hold this till it's dry, and then come back and we'll add in the other cauldron. Okay, it's dry enough we can put in our second cauldron, and I've already settled in the lights for that guy. And I added a few extra pieces of cardstock to the back because I think that was part of the problem, is that there was a gap between the wall and the back of the cauldron. So this time we're gonna E6000 like so. And see about getting that guy in place, pushed to the back. And then come in and do the little line on the front. I have a feeling I've drifted off camera. So there we go. That one's semi on, and I'm gonna need to hold that in place until it's dry, or at least dry enough. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll be back. Okay, so off camera, I covered the sides, which I had enough of this paper left over from doing the floors to cover the sides. I need to find a piece of paper for the top. And then I also wrapped my lights around a piece from the Etcetera Trims pack. And it's pretty well wedged in there, even though I haven't glued it yet. But that way we've got light above and light below, and this is gonna get attached, but I wanna wait until I put the paper for the top on, just to kind of hide the lights. So the next step is we need to attach our bottles along here. And I'm gonna use my Aleene's The Ultimate multi-surface adhesive. Let's pull over all of our bottles. And I'm gonna leave this in place just so I can gauge height-wise what we're doing. So let's start with this guy. And I've grabbed some jump rings, or my thing of jump rings, and I'm gonna grab the black ones that are gonna serve as like the holders of the bottles. So the idea is basically this goes on around like so, and the whole thing gets glued on to our background. And I'm going to trim off the excess fishing line. And figure out how I want to put this on. Try and move stuff around. This is the only problem with having glued everything together, is it's really big and hard for me to see what I'm doing. Let's throw out the excess fishing line. Let's put that in place. I think that's where we want it to go height-wise. Maybe a little higher. And so, all right, we're gonna go for it. Gonna put, woo! There was apparently still some more loose seed beads in that one. Or micro beads. Woo! I've got stuff everywhere. Let's glue that in place. Fix that and that. It's gonna go there. I'm tempted to grab some painter's tape and add that to hold it on, and I'll get rid of the little micro beads later. That's gonna go there. And its buddy, let's get rid of the excess fishing line, is gonna go next to it, like so. Let's put the ring around it. Line them up so that they're the same height. And that'll go there. Yeah, that works. It's sliding, it's sliding, it's sliding. Just trying to brush those guys out of the way so I can do the other 3 that are gonna go here. And I got a dog who wants out, so let me go do that, and then we'll come back and add the last 3 bottles over here. Okay, so let's try, okay, candy corn goes white, orange, yellow. That's how we're gonna line them up. Let's put the ring on, and the ring fits a little more snugly over that. So let's snip off our excess, tuck that in. We just need to make sure we've got placement so that all of the bottles are going to fit. Because it's going to be snug over here. First, let's put the things on them so that if I get them placed right, I can just glue them down and I don't have to take them out to put these guys on. I think we're just gonna fingers cross it. We're gonna apply glue to the back and stick him down, and we'll just make sure we put him all the way over against the sidewall. See how it looks. The lights on. Ooh, that looks cool. I like that. All right. Now I'm probably gonna fill in down here to cover up the light you can see sticking out. You guys stay put. We need to add some bubbles, and I need to do some yellow. I haven't inked up any yellow, so definitely gonna need to do that at some point. can definitely add some orange and some clear. You know what? Actually, we're gonna wait because I want to put some up on here and I can't really see what I'm doing. I need it standing up and I can't do that while those are drying. So we're gonna leave that section alone for now and let those guys dry. Next, we're gonna move down to this level. Okay, so I realized there was no way I was gonna be able to put the bubbles in on the top where I could also film so that you could see it, because I needed to hold it up so I could see the top. So I already went ahead and put those in, but we're gonna put some bubbles bubbling out. So let me grab a set of tweezers, and normally I use my little like reverse tweezers. Woo! You know, the ones you have to squeeze to open. But I find with round objects, they tend to shoot out of the tweezers. So I'm gonna use these tweezers, and I'm gonna grab my Aliens the Ultimate Glue, and we're gonna be very careful and just put a little bit of glue here. And the swirl helps avoid glue strings. Bubbles. I'm gonna leave that dry, and then when it is dry, I'll take a look at it and see how it looks, because it's kind of hard to judge with it on its side like that. Okay, so you're getting a sneak peek of what the finished project is gonna look like. Because yeah, this video is way too long to leave as one video, and I didn't realize that until after I had recorded most of it. So today we did the top row. The next video, we're gonna do the middle floor. Then the last video, we're gonna do the bottom floor and the sign and make a little holder for our battery pack. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.